and welcome to Coven Quorum. I'm Anna Marie Tendler. This is an advice column. You submit questions, queries, conundrums, and I give you advice. First things first, I am an expert in nothing. I have no credentials. I am not qualified. I'm just a girl with a useless master's degree, DBT skills, and a lot of therapy experience. People have told me I give good advice. I simply love to weigh in on problems that are not my own. So here we are, Coven Quorum. Let's get started. Hello, Coven. I am excited to tell you that I recently bought a bicycle. Yes, that is correct. I bought a bike just in time for winter. I have actually wanted one for a long time, but I can't really ride bikes easily where I live in Connecticut because the roads are famously very narrow and windy. Don't think that that stops people from biking on them. Arrogant individuals in silly spandex outfits still hog the road on weekend mornings, risking their lives and igniting the flames of my anger. But I don't have a vehicular death wish, so I don't bike on my roads. I keep it on bike paths. And I had been renting bikes, but I got tired of the sticky handlebars and the squeaky brakes, so I bravely bought my own. It's a Trek. That's the brand. It's a Trek, and I love it. Bikes are very expensive, which I did not realize. And now I understand why my parents made such a big deal over getting my brother and I bikes when we were kids. I went to the bike store to buy my bike, and I was explaining to the sales clerk what I wanted, and he was like, "Oh, okay. This bike is great." And I turned over the price tags, and it was $4,000. And I was like, yeah, I hope it's great. But, sir, you misunderstand. Is there something three and a half times less expensive than that? Of course, there is, he said, and he led me to something much more affordable. The sales guy was great. I was like, I need an extra small. And he was like, you need a small. And he was correct. They didn't have the bike that I wanted in stock, so they ordered it for me and then they assembled it for me. And now I ride it around. And yes, of course, I put a basket on the front of it. A couple of weeks ago, I went on a bike ride with my boyfriend, and it was an evening bike ride. So we biked to dinner, which was very fun. And then at dinner, I did something wildly uncharacteristic, which is that I ordered an alcoholic beverage, a cider. Actually, we split one. It wasn't even a full cider. Now, I've said on here before that I'm not a drinker. I don't like the taste of alcohol really. And I was also never around drinking growing up. I almost never saw my parents drink. I think they each drank a beer like twice a year. And they drank under only very specific circumstances, which was when my mom made enchiladas. Now, there is, of course, an asterisk next to enchiladas because if you are Mexican or of Mexican descent, if your parents are Mexican or of Mexican descent, you would not recognize these to be enchiladas. But to me, as a young child, before I had been exposed to the authentic flavors from around the globe, these were enchiladas. My parents only drank beer when my mom made these. I don't know why. I remember taking a sip of my parents' beer one of those nights when I was a kid and thinking it was the grossest thing I had ever tasted. And they were like, oh, you'll probably change your mind when you're older. And guess what? Just like with the taste of cooked spinach, I never did. So I've never been a drinker, which means I'm a total lightweight. My boyfriend and I bike to this great food truck that's on a lake in Vermont. It's a beautiful evening. The sun glistens off Lake Champlain. I've just ordered a poke bowl. Now, I love yuzu. For those of you who don't know what yuzu is, it's a Japanese citrus. You can't buy them in the States, but you can get yuzu juice here from Japanese markets. I'm looking at their non-alcoholic drink menu, hoping for a little yuzu flavored delight when I see yuzu ginger cider. I am stopped in my tracks. Has anything ever sounded so delicious? I think not. I look and I see this 5.5% alcohol by volume. I ask my boyfriend if that is a lot because I truly do not know. And he says that's about a normal can of beer. Do you want to split it? And I say, yes, I most certainly do. It's delishy. By the time I finish my half can, I am more than buzzed. I'm not drunk, but I'm a little beyond buzzed. We finish dinner. He unlocks my bike. I try to get on that thing with the confidence of a stone sober person. I fall over, and in that moment, I am so happy I decided to order a step through bike and not a bike with one of those crossbars because I am quickly able to dismount as the bike is toppling over. My boyfriend is like, should I go get the car? And I'm like, over my dead body. I have all of my faculties perfectly in order. So I get back on the bike, and my first pedals, I can't really control it. And I swerve sideways and I almost go right into a brick wall. That did not stop me. I regained my balance and I tipsy biked to the car, which was fortunately only like zero point 0.3 miles away in a parking lot off the bike path. I made it. I lived. And I gotta say, while I can't condone it for safety reasons, buzzed biking was joyful, even if it was for less than 5 minutes. Our first question is from Crystal from Chicago. Crystal writes, do you have any advice for how to go about cultivating a spiritual practice? Or what your daily practice, if anything, looks like and how you created that ritual? Having a daily ritual of any kind is really about sticking to it. That is the hardest part of any practice, in my opinion. There are so many things to distract us and take us away from routine. I also found personally that nothing stuck until I really wanted it to, or perhaps just until I was more ready for it to. I often had great designs of like, I'm going to change my altar setup every week, or I'm going to do yoga 5 times a week. I'm going to pull a tarot card every single day and journal on it. And what ended up happening was that things would go great at first, but then when life things would come up, these rituals or practices got derailed. And once I missed one or two, everything sort of fell apart. So while I do think it is possible to cultivate a spiritual practice, I think you also have to want to do it. And when I look back at some of these things I tried to do ritualistically, I found pretty quickly I actually didn't want to do them ritualistically. It's not that I didn't want to do them or that I stopped doing these things. I still do these things, but they just aren't regular rituals for me. And I found that trying to hold myself to them created anxiety, which is the opposite of what they're supposed to do. Now I do them when it feels right or when I have the time and the mental capacity for it. The only thing that has really stuck for me is meditation. And even with that, I tried having a regular meditation practice at other times in my life, and it just did not stick. I don't think I really cared about it sticking, so that's why it fell apart. And now I really care about it sticking. I meditate every day for between 10 and 16 minutes per day. On most days, I do it as soon as I wake up. I wake up, I sit up in bed, I set my timer. One of my little cats curls up in my lap, and I meditate. I've mentioned this before, but I use the Insight Timer app, which is free. Sometimes and more regularly, I have been doing walking meditations. And usually I do these if my morning meditation has been interrupted by something in my schedule, like I have an appointment, or I do it when I'm meditating later in the day. So, more recently, I have been meditating twice a day. I do the sitting meditation for 12 minutes in the morning and the walking meditation for 12 minutes in the late afternoon. I follow the Plum Village walking meditation, and Plum Village is a monastery That's in France, and it's in the tradition of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. And there is a video up on YouTube that they have made that shows you how to do walking meditation, and I will link to that video in the show notes. Over the past few years, I have read a lot more Buddhist texts, and I've taken in a lot of these teachings, and it now informs the way I look at the world and how I interact with it, and also how I understand myself and my life and just life in general. And I really just kept showing up for the ritual of meditation, the ritual of contemplation, the ritual of learning. And almost without consciously realizing it, I had a spiritual practice all of a sudden. And even that, I know it will be a continually evolving practice. So I think that the best way to cultivate a spiritual practice is honestly just to continuously show up for it. That means not biting off more than you can chew. The simpler the practice, the easier it will be to make it continuous, and then you can always increase from there. If you've never meditated before, try just starting with 5 minutes or try doing a guided meditation. Sometimes people find those easier to have someone kind of talking you through it. And once you get used to 5 minutes, then, do it for 7 minutes. And then once you get used to 7 minutes, get used to doing it for 10 minutes. I personally found that once I got used to the practice of meditation, I came to really look forward to it. I especially look forward to my afternoon walking meditation. And when the weather is not so nice, like it is today, it's rainy and windy, and I'm not going to go outside and do the walking meditation. I'm bummed that I can't go do that. I can kind of walk around my room or, my house a little bit, but I really like doing it out in nature. And so it's something I really look forward to. And once you look forward to it, it will be something that you want to do and not something that you feel like you have to do. Our next question is from Lizzie, who's also from Chicago. And I gotta say, whenever I get a couple people from the same place, I really want to believe you guys know each other, or I just want you to be friends. So Lizzie from Chicago asks, how can I cope with things I feel too young for? My mom is in the hospital dying, and I'm having to take care of her and my younger brother, who is still a minor. And while I have help from my family, it's all on my shoulders. Lizzie, I am so sorry to hear this. Sounds really difficult, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a shit hand you've been dealt at the moment. And as human beings, we're conditioned to want to run from terrible feelings. Of course, we are. Who wants to feel terrible? And something that I think is interesting about this human desire to cope, this is a very natural thing to want to cope with something difficult. When we really examine this question, how do I cope? And trust me, I've asked this many times in my life. The actual question that I think we're often asking is, how do I get away from this horrible feeling I'm having? How do I stop this horrible feeling? It is a fact of being human that sometimes the bad feeling, the bad scenario cannot be stopped in the present. The best and only thing we can do is learn to sit with the bad feeling and to be present with the bad feeling and to acknowledge how we feel. So, a positive thing that I can see in this question is an acknowledgement of what it is that you're struggling with. You're dealing with the impending death of your mother, i.e., you're grieving. You're shouldering the responsibility of your brother, and you're feeling overwhelmed by what is expected from you. So here you have named it. That is exactly how you start the process of sitting with the feelings. What you are dealing with is very hard. And the truth is, it might be hard for a while. It might not feel great for a while. And coping with the feeling might mean that you really have to be with the bad feeling. But I think it's something that is so important to remember. And the thing that helps me the most when I feel awful is that no feeling is final. It is not going to feel like this forever. It's not going to be this hard forever. The feelings will mutate into something else. And the less you push them away and the more you acknowledge, as you just have done in this question, you've acknowledged exactly what's making you suffer, the less suffering you'll feel along the way. And this is a core tenet of mindfulness, to be aware of hard feelings and to acknowledge the presence and really allow yourself to be with it. My second thought is that it is at times like this when we really learn the value of community. Reach out to your community and absolutely, positively accept help from your community. I'm talking about friends and family members. Please don't at this time worry that you're asking too much or that you're being inconvenient. Ask for help and accept help when it is offered to you. Understand that one day you'll be able to repay the favor, and so you shouldn't try and shoulder everything yourself right now. If someone offers to help you with your younger brother, or say, I don't know, drive him somewhere or pick him up somewhere or watch him if you need to go do something, don't be like, oh, no, that's okay. You don't have to do that. Don't be a hero. Let them do it, let them help you. Even if it's just you need a break to go do something for yourself, even if that feels frivolous, let people help you. Accepting help is so, so hard to do. But when I went through the absolutely lowest point in my life, I learned that not only is it important to rely on your community, but the people who love you want to help you. And having help from others should make things feel a little bit less overwhelming. It might not make it less sad, but it will give you some space to feel what you're going through, and feeling it will help you get through it. Hang in there, Lizzie. Today's final question comes from Saskia from Holland, and she asks, how do you stop being nostalgic? I clocked this question immediately when it came in, and I have been waiting to answer it. I love this question. I think it's weird and wonderful and allows me to touch on a line of thinking that has really freed me. I've spoken in other episodes about Buddhist teachings. I've spoken in this episode about Buddhist teachings that have helped me immensely. And here with this question, I'm going to elaborate on one of the core tenets of Zen Buddhism. Perhaps I would say the core tenet of Zen Buddhism, which is the nature of impermanence. And I love this question so much because it makes me think about how nostalgia is sort of the antithesis to the nature of impermanence. So, what is impermanence? This is the concept in Buddhism that absolutely everything comes to an end. Everything dies. Absolutely everything is impermanent. Yet we as humans crave permanence. We want lives to last forever. We want relationships to last forever. We don't want good feelings or happy times to ever end. We don't want to age. We don't want to die. We want everything to stay the same always, but that is not possible. And it is our clinging to the impermanent that is the root of all of our suffering. The more we can make peace with impermanence and the more we understand that nothing will last forever and nothing is meant to last forever, the more at peace we will be and the happier we will be. Nostalgia is a type of clinging, right? It's a way of looking back and thinking, oh, I wish this had never ended. I wish I could go back and do that over again or relive that day, or everything was better when dot, dot, dot. I was happier when dot, dot, dot. Nostalgia becomes a way of looking back and living in the past. It's a way of looking at the past with a sweetened view, remembering the good and none of the hard stuff, and tricking yourself into believing it was better or that it could have or should have lasted forever. And in that sense, it creates a clinging to the impossible. But you can't relive anything. You can't go back. You have no idea what the future will bring, so all you have is now. Getting stuck in the past and, in a way, being nostalgic ensures that you will not be present for what happens now. So, what can you do about it? Accept that impermanence and change is the nature of life. I find it very helpful to read or listen to Buddhist teachings from monks and nuns. There's a podcast called The Way Out is In. It's hosted by a Zen monk and it follows the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, who I mentioned earlier. I believe their second episode ever is on the nature of impermanence. So I recommend that you listen to it. Also, Pema Chodron, who's a Buddhist nun, she has many books, and all of them in some way tackle impermanence, whether she's talking about death or happiness or how to get through trauma, how to make your way through grief. All of these things have to do with how to deal with and how to make peace with impermanence. And I'll be honest, I had a very hard time understanding the nature of impermanence until I went through a really big trauma. I had a very, very different life than I have now. And I clung to that life out of fear. I was always so afraid of it disappearing. For years, I made all of these decisions based out of fear, thinking if I just did this, if I just did that, if I did this perfectly, if I made that decision, I believed that it would never ever change and it would never ever end. And the joke is on me because in clinging to my life and clinging to a person, and clinging to what I thought would never end, I became very anxious. I did a lot of things wrong. I had a lot of misplaced control. And let me tell you, when we think we can control something, we act in ways that do not serve us. And then, against my best efforts, that whole life that I was clinging to so hard unraveled. And all of a sudden, my present and my future looked absolutely nothing like what I thought it would be. I realized a thing that I thought was unbreakable was actually quite broken. And I saw all of the ways I contributed to my own unhappiness. And it sort of shocked me out of nostalgia and out of clinging to permanence. I suddenly realized absolutely nothing was meant to last forever and that that was okay. The worst thing would be for me to resist change, the sadness of change. I sat with it. Yes, I dealt with it. I was very upset. I was very depressed. I really went through it, but I accepted it. Everything changes. From minute to minute, we are different people. A minute goes by, you never get that minute back. It is like these tiny deaths happening over and over and over again. And oh my God, if we think we can control that, we are going to make ourselves miserable. And, I think it's amazing to look back on things and be like, oh, that I had a great time, or, have positive memories. But I think that's different than nostalgia because nostalgia keeps us stuck. Truly understanding the nature of impermanence is a lifelong practice. And even monks and nuns talk about this. Like they find themselves getting stuck in clinging to things that are impermanent and feeling sad and wishing something would never end and feeling nostalgic. And they bring themselves back to impermanence. And there are meditations that you can do specifically on impermanence. And this is something I do, and it has changed my life dramatically. It has made me so much happier. I can look back at my old life and I can think, wow, that was amazing, That was a time, but all things come to an end, and what I have right now is right now. And I'm happy that I have right now, and I don't want to look back. I want to enjoy what I have in front of me. And so, to put a fine point on your question, of how to stop being nostalgic. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of contemplation on the nature of impermanence. But it is possible to stop clinging to things, to stop thinking that you have control over things you don't have control over. And I think when you do this, you'll find yourself much happier, or at least more at ease. I am going to end today's podcast by reminding you that if you feel so inclined, I would really appreciate you becoming a paid subscriber to my Substack, which is where I host this podcast. It is $6 a month or $60 a year, and your support allows me to make this podcast totally free. To become a paid subscriber, go to annamarietendler.substack.com. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for joining Coven Quorum. Coven Quorum is written, produced, and edited by me, AMT. The intro and outro song is Friend or Foe by Esther Rose. If you would like to submit a question, you will find the link to do so at the About page on my Substack, annamarietendler.substack.com, or in the bio of my Instagram, @AnnaMTendler. Until next time, take care.